I used to think one person could do that. Now I would need an assistant just to go through all that really and do it. So, you know, it's just the amount, it's exploded. I'm glad I'm on the end here so I can do my answer. But it's as you all know, the internet has exploded. I mean, we all have way too many sites to hit every morning. You know, my RSS feeds are like 300, 400 sites now. That's ridiculous. I don't even read 100 of them.
Now, the comics worth reading, are things different now than they used to be? Are you able to stay kind of consistent in the way that you cover comics, or what's your perspective on right now?
Well, I've always covered sort of what interested me. And I think I'm lucky in that what interests me includes a lot of different fields, like manga, alternative, superheroes, what I'm now calling big publisher graphic novels, things from Random House or Simon & Schuster. I totally agree with what Heidi's saying. I think from my perspective, it's a much more positive thing, because I would much rather deal with a book publisher who understands the idea of advanced copies and here's how you deal with the press. They're often a lot more set up to deal with that professionally. They're a lot more used to considering press outlets in some fashion. I'm not trying to put down small comics publishers, but there's often one or two people trying to do promotions and marketing and business and publishing and art and get it all done. They just don't always have the resources to cover all the bases. What was the question again?
I have no idea. Let me ask Tim. Let's make sure we get through all the panels at least once before I open it up for questions. Tim, and both of you guys are critics actually, and Tim, I wonder if has having a presence online, having the presence in the magazine, kind of changed the way. Now you've done it for a while. Are you comfortable with where you are? Is it really changed the way you kind of approach comics? What has that process been like, kind of publishing and kind of engaging with the art form on that level?
Well, what do you mean by comfortable?
Are you at a point which you kind of feel that you have a place to say what you want to say and a thing you want to say, or is it ongoing where you kind of wake up every day confused as to how you're going to read the comics? Or
I feel like I understand how to read comics now, and I don't really wish I understood the question better. But
there's a difference between kind of reading comics over the years and thinking about them, and then actually getting in the process of publishing them, publishing about them, and writing about them, and publishing a magazine and having an online presence. And I just wondered if that changed, if that has been a process for you to change the way you kind of approach.
Well, I guess so. I mean, I read a lot of comics I would never have read before. When I first started doing comics, I guess it's been 2-3 years ago. I probably have read almost zero superhero comics for about 10 years. I read a lot of them now. Well, actually, I read less now than I did when I first started, but I read all kinds of things. I don't know. I feel very comfortable reading all kinds of comics. I feel like I do understand it. I guess it's different as I feel now. People read what I write. It matters more what I say, which is I'm not used to that.
Yeah, that's definitely a double-edged sword.
Yeah. And
have you been confronted or had encountered that?
No, I'm just paranoid and insecure. I was really worried about. I wrote a thing about Dick Ayers, his autobiographical comics, and I was really kind of nervous about what he would say. But I heard that he loved it, which was really amazing to me.
But isn't that hard though?
Yeah.
When you write something about, knowing he's going to read it, and because you might have, you don't want to hurt Dick Ayers' feelings,
but being honest is very important at the same time. So that's really what I think. But I think you have to separate that. That's probably more what I worry about than anything else, even though I know I shouldn't worry about it.
Sure.
I don't know if that even comes close to that.
As good as that question was, anything I got from you. As far as creative loathing, do your column appear in the magazine? Or
my column is actually in the physical paper and is online.
Now, do you feel it's different now than maybe when you started or when you started thinking about comics?
Well, here's my thing. With creative loafing, my job is a little different than these folks because I'm really serving an audience that maybe 70% don't read comics at all.
Right.
And so I really have to explain a lot to really, tell them just what the hell it's about, you know. And the way I set up my column, I kind of break things down, and sometimes the breakdown of what it is, it takes longer than saying I didn't like it, you know. And so, but that's sort of what I do. And really, we're the only, one of the few alt weeklies in the country that cover comic books on a weekly basis. We're the only media outlet in the city, and really, we reach more people than I don't know, than we reach like 200,000 some people a week, you know.
Sure.
And so out of that, maybe you got, you know, 10,000 comic book readers, and maybe you got maybe 10,000 people that are interested in them. But it's funny when you was talking about Dick Ayers, like, you know, I thought nobody read it, really. And I wrote kind of these scathing reviews, and I wrote this thing about Brit, and the guy, Bruce Brown, is that his name? The guy that writes it, he said,
Robert Kirkman?
no. He's just,
The other guy who says, I'm not Robert Kirkman.
right, yeah. He wrote me an email saying, yeah, you know, sorry about that last issue. I'm trying to get better. I was like, oh man, damn. You know, so I had to be, you know, now I kind of think about that. I think not to just I have to be critical, but try to help out the people that I'm even reviewing, you know, to give them something that maybe they could use instead of just saying, that sucks. You know?
Are you getting feedback from people that are kind of discovering? Okay.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, when people, with creative loafing, when you don't hear from people is when they like you, you know? when they don't like you, they send you a lot of emails. So I meet a lot of people on the street and they say, you know, I read it down every week. I'm like, oh, wow, I was thinking about getting rid of it. Because it just, you didn't really know, you know, who read it. But I really serve the audience of people that don't read comics more so than the ones that do. So that's like, I'm sort of an ambassador. I think of myself.
I should say that just to clarify, I don't think that we should write things to please creators or to help them. At least that's not the way I approach it. It's just to whoever might be the readers or whoever might be interested.
Yeah, I mean, you have to serve the comic reader first. You're trying to direct them to and from good and bad comics.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, too, I think that you know, if this guy read my thing and he's like, well, I'm working on it, you know, I mean, if I can tell him something that maybe nobody else in the circle would tell him, then hey,
That's
I
true.
mean, that's kind of a good thing. I think.
It's important to be fair,
Yeah.
Matt, as someone who's really widely read by industry members, and then you also have a very, you know, an audience that's not industry members, a very sizable audience. I mean, is there ever a problem kind of remembering that you have these, you know, multiple layers, that you have the industry people are kind of reading it, at the same time you have an audience that's not involved?
In making sure the content appeals to all
Yeah.
viewers. Yeah. There's a little bit of everything. I mean, you have to. They'll hate you for being too inside baseball. They'll hate you for not being too inside baseball. If you approach a book that you think needs a bit of explanation to kind of set up where the interview is going, you'll hear about it immediately. Well, everybody knows that. And I mean, I've always said that, you know, more so when we were, you know, on the old site where the articles were the start of a conversation. I've had some people come in right before me that one article was in because they were just like, I can't do this. I can't write. And their stuff was good. It wasn't that their stuff was bad, but it was, you are writing for a opinionated, temperamental audience that has an instant letter to the editor, and that they don't have to sign their own name to. They can sign, you know, crazy troll in basement, and why that's descriptive on many levels. You know, they can do that. It's fine. But actually, one thing, getting back to something that Heidi was saying earlier, of what's different now and then, something that we talked about when we had a panel like this in New York that I don't think can be really stressed enough, is that, well, both what you said of just there's so much more to cover now, there's so many more outlets. I remember early days when we'd do this stuff, and there were days when you could actually just go, I'm done for the day. I can't find any more news. There's just nothing. And you would check with Marvel, DC, Image, you know, maybe one or two other the small publishers that were making a bump, and then, you know, you'd go, oh, okay, you guys, you're testing the waters with graphic novels. What do you have going? Oh, you're launching a graphic novel line. That's huge news. That's Thursday now. You know, and